Hi, Billy.
Hey there.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to look back with me today at Space Jam.
Pleasure.
It is such an honor to speak to you as a huge fan of your work, and I know that
Thank
for
you.
you, Space Jam was one of those big early roles. So when you look back now, 2.5 decades later, are you amazed by the fact you're still talking about this film?
Yeah, but it's more than the thing about how much time has passed. It's Bugs Bunny. It's the Looney Tunes. They just are forever. They're evergreens, and I don't know. I think that they'll be around for a long time. And but it's great to see the original film in 4K because you can see the makeup on Bugs Bunny's collar now. You know, they always say that. It's like, I have a 4K TV set. You can see the makeup on the sportscaster's collar. It's so funny.
It's awesome that the film is coming out, and of course, Bugs Bunny. It's such an iconic role. So, as a young actor at the time, when that came across your desk and you were offered that Bugs Bunny character, what did it mean to you to know that you'd be taking on that iconic Looney Tunes character?
I was blown away. I mean, I was working in radio in New York, and I had done Ren and Stimpy, and I had done Doug for Nickelodeon, and I was on the Howard Stern show working, and Ivan Reitman was producing his film Private Parts, and Ivan would come in and sit in the show, and he got a load of me, when I was sitting there doing all my antics and whatnot, and he wanted me to audition for it. So I went and auditioned, and he gave me the part. I also did Elmer Fudd in the movie. So I mean, these are these are daunting prospects, because somebody already established the standards, and you have to try and be faithful or replicate what they did or what they would have done with lines that none of them have ever said. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you mentioned Elmer Fudd. Was that something that you were offered initially as well, alongside Bugs Bunny, or did that get
Yeah,
added
yeah,
as
kind
time
of.
passed?
It was kind of like that, yeah.
Hmm.
Same time.
Did it mean a lot to you to get to voice not just one iconic Looney Tunes character, but to get two?
It did mean a lot. It's quite a benchmark. I mean, uh, it's tough. You can't really fill somebody like Mel Blanc's shoes. You can do your best to replicate, but it does take more than one person usually to do those assignments. Whereas he was a one stop, but he was incredible. He was an amazing actor. He wasn't just a collection of witty little voices.
Yeah, and of course, Bugs Bunny, I'm not sure how you feel about this, but it feels very much like almost Mickey Mouse, where you get handed the character for a little while and then you've got to pass it on to someone else. But was that a difficult thing for you? Did you feel a sense of ownership over Bugs and Elmer after voicing them,
No,
or were you quite happy to move on?
no, not at all. I understand it. I get it. I'm a realist. I mean, you're a day player if you get hired to do something that was already established. I didn't create that, so I didn't have the same kind of emotional resonance for those characters as I would for characters that I created, like on Futurama. Um, that's a little different. But to have been part of a legacy is a great thing, and they're doing a new Space Jam movie, and I know the people that are involved. I know the guys doing the voices and stuff, and they're all great people. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm guessing you haven't lined up a cameo in that film or anything like that, then? You just,
No, no, no,
oh,
no.
it's a shame.
Oh, that's not a shame. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, have you seen much of the film, as in the trailers and things?
I've
It's
seen the
so different.
trailers. I've seen the trailers just like everybody else, but I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy seeing how the technology, because I know when the original Space Jam came out, of course, merging those animated live action worlds was really groundbreaking at the time. And now you obviously see this one with the CGI. But when you watched the film, the original film, were you quite blown away seeing how it was all pieced together?
Yeah, I thought they did an amazing job. Michael Jordan was fun, and he was a good sport, obviously. I mean, because he got into it. You know, he really got into it. You got to remember, you're acting with somebody in a green suit, you know, who blends in to the Chiron, the green screen background, and then they animate a character. So he's basically acting with like a person that's totally covered with green, and that might be a little tough.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. I'm from the UK, but obviously he's iconic, I think, across the entire globe. So, were you a big basketball fan going into the film? I know you obviously probably wouldn't have worked together, but was it exciting for you to get to be in a film with someone like Michael Jordan?
Well, of course, because he's a legend, you know, and everybody's calling his name every second that he's alive, you know, and he had a crowd around him all the time. But his sports agent went, Michael, and he recognized that voice, and he turned around and he said, Michael, this is Billy West. And he reached over like 6 people, you know, had this giant hand, and he said, hey, Billy, you know.
Oh, amazing. And I know
Yeah.
we talked briefly about the legacy of the film, but Space Jam really is one of these movies where the kids who grew up watching it are now showing it to their own kids. So are you
Right.
surprised, like I said, by that staying power it's had? Did you, when you were working on it, did you think this is going to be a classic, or can you never tell when you're working on something like that?
Well, I had a sense that it would be a classic only because they were dealing with that subject matter, the Looney Tunes. It's hard to go wrong with those things, and you do your best to hold up your end of the bargain. I get to sing on the soundtrack, which was a rap track, and it was a club hit, you know. It was like, you know, urban hip hop charts and all that, and it's like, I'm a little white guy.
You've had such a phenomenal career as well, obviously since Space Jam and the projects you mentioned beforehand. But do you feel like anything has really topped that experience? As you said, you were topping the charts in like hip hop and things, but has anything come along that's topped it, or do you not really think about things that way, that you need to keep topping what you've done before?
I don't know. I don't think of it like I've got to keep topping myself. I just the object is to keep working, which is all I ever really wanted to do. I'm a journeyman, you know, and I just keep working until they tell me don't come in anymore. That's basically my feeling about everything. If you get a really cool project, you don't know if you're in the middle of a cultural phenomenon while you're doing something, you know, because you're not paying attention to, you know, anything outside of what you're doing. And then later you find out that people are going nuts over something, and it's like a surprise, you know.
Yeah. And I've read online that you and the rest of the voice cast weren't actually invited to the premiere of the film. So, looking on now, 25 years later, do you feel that voice artists like yourself are finally getting the recognition they deserve, or do you think Hollywood still has a long way to go to give you the proper recognition?
No, I think we got proper recognition. It was just a really major oversight, is that, you know, it was the Chinese theater, the legendary Chinese theater in Hollywood, Grauman's. And, you know, it's like everybody got invited except the voice people. They watched the film in the little theater, the little Chinese theater right next to it. And, you know, and we were kind of like miffed about that. Maybe they didn't have any room, you know. It's like, it's important to invite, you know, John McEnroe, you know, to an animated movie. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. Who cares?
Yeah, well, as you said, it's quite a while ago now, and you have done so much since. And of course, one of the projects you've done since, I know is a favorite of mine, is Futurama. And now that Disney own the rights to the show, like as they do with The Simpsons and Family Guy, do you think there's a possibility it could come back? Is that something you would like to see happen, or do you think it's too far removed now?
No, I've always said that I would love to see that happen because I have separation anxiety from the show. I mean, that was my favorite thing that I ever was involved with. It's just because of the writing, you know. Even if I had nothing to do with it, I would have gone crazy over it because of the writing. I have to compartmentalize while I'm watching it. I have to pretend I had nothing to do with it, you know, because I'll be overcritical of my own performances. I'm getting over that stuff though. It's just this thing in you that, you know, it's like, could have done it better. But then you find out, no, what you did was perfect. People think it's perfect and they love it. And so, you know, that's good enough for me, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you voiced so many characters in the series. now you've had that little bit of time since it ended. Can you pick a favorite? Because I know I've read other interviews where you've said it's impossible and your
It
favorite is the
is.
one you're doing in the moment. But do you have one that stands out or still?
They're they're just, I don't know. I was presented with such an amazing opportunity to express myself. These characters are, they're Matt Groening characters. They're bigger than life, and it was my responsibility to, you can't do a throwaway voice for any character, even if it's the space garbage man. I mean, you got to give it something that has some meat on it. You can't just go, "Hey, I'm collecting garbage." I mean, something that anybody could do. Um, and I thought long and hard before I opened my mouth with any of those characters. And Fry was, something I had never done before, was use my own voice for a character, but only a 25-year-old version of myself.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And I thought the ending of the show, if that is it for Futurama, it was such a beautiful ending with Fry and Leela. But were you satisfied by that? Because I know you had a lot of stops and starts. It sort of got cancelled, it came back. Then you had those almost TV movies. Were you satisfied with the way things wrapped up?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it was very satisfying. It was bittersweet in a way because I know these people so well. I worked with them for so many years, and I always knew where I was going. So at the end, it was like, okay, now I got to go, live amongst mortals again.
Going back to Space Jam, I know we said you were quite early on in your career when you worked on the film, but as Bugs, did you get any chance to maybe play around with the lines a bit and have a bit of improvisation, or were you very much sticking to what was on the page?
It's your job to honor the writers, honor the writing, and then if the director's happy and say you have a thought, like you come up with some idea for a way a line could be delivered. That usually they're willing to entertain that, and then they can just leave it on the floor, and or use it, and hopefully it makes it better than it would have been.
Yeah, and going back to that dynamic of having Bugs Bunny on the one hand and Elmer Fudd on the other, obviously jumping between different characters isn't something you struggle with based on, as I said, something like Futurama. But was it quite challenging for you to find those two distinct voices, or did it come quite easily to you?
On which?
On Space Jam.
Oh no, it's just that I was kind of born to do those kind of things, so it's not that hard for me. I mean, I've been doing that kind of junk since I was 4 years old. I just used to Tourette out voices and make noises and run around the house, and everybody was always like, "Can you not do that?" And this old Italian lady, when I was a little kid, an old Italian lady up the street called me a chiacchierone, which means talking machine, blabbing machine, I think. But I mean, it just came naturally to me. And plus, I was on the autism spectrum, and I had OCD and ADHD, and you name it. And so a lot of your world just kind of exists here. And so making distinctions between characters, it just, it kind of came easy. It was like I had the key to a storage room that most people don't use, and I had access to it.
Well, that is so interesting to hear from your point of view with the way you've balanced those different roles, because you are, I feel, very much one of those actors who you've done so many iconic characters, and I don't think people would know it was you doing all of them. So is that quite a fun thing when your fans find out, oh, you were Fry and you were Bugs Bunny and you were Doug? Is that quite enjoyable for you?
Well, I like when somebody comes up like they're a detective and they just figured out a mystery. Aha! I knew that was you that did this, and this, and this, and this. And I said, yeah, but it took you 30 years to figure it out, Columbo.
And so much. We've talked about the Space Jam sequel, and I'm surprised it took so long for one to be made, but so many things are being rebooted now. If Ren and Stimpy or Doug or any of those early projects came back, would you revisit those, or would you want to maybe pass on those roles to other voice actors?
No, I mean, I was blessed in a way. I still have kind of like an adolescent voice, but you're looking at a 70-year-old guy, and but I can still do all those things, and I'll continue to do them if they want to reboot stuff. Of course, I'd be interested because I had a hand in creating them.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts, having been such an icon in this world of animation? What are your thoughts on the newer shows that seem to be dominating the headlines? I know you're in Disenchanted on Netflix, which is a big one, but things like Rick and Morty and the newer stuff, what are your thoughts on those? Do you enjoy those as a fan, or are you very much focused just on what you work on?
I do. I don't mean to sound like a snob, but I don't watch television as a rule. I'm so sorry. I never did, you know, in my adult life. I watched television religiously as a child when there was only 3 channels, and just, you know, sucked in as much stuff as I could. But I really don't watch TV that much. I do see shows occasionally. I've enjoyed Rick and Morty and some of the others. I don't know. I like really good artwork. So a lot of these shows have like what I call refrigerator art, you know, like a child's drawing that the parents are so proud of. They hang it on the refrigerator, you know, with no contrast, no line, no form, no shadow, no, you know. I have a harder time getting with that stuff because I get distracted because I was an artist and a musician.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Space Jam, as you said, coming out on 4K, are there any moments that you're looking forward to go? I know you said you don't watch much TV, but if you revisit the film, are there any moments you're looking forward to watching in that new format that you're particularly excited to revisit?
Um, I I liked the way that they did the basketball game very much. The creatures that they created for the movie were not Looney Tunes; they were the Monstars, and those were original creations. They didn't exist before, and so I liked what they did with them. I liked that they were so formidable, and the voices were incredible. That the guys they picked to do the voices for those, you know, it was just so perfect.
Yeah, and looking back on the film from your time working on it, do you have any memories that really stand out to you that you still think back to today of working on it, or were you very much just confined to the recording booth, having to reel out those lines as Bugs and Elmer?
Um, I I just remember doing Bugs and being as conscientious as I could and trying to concentrate and, you know, focus and all that stuff, but try to generate, you know, as much as I could that would make the director happy. But every other person that popped their head in the door was like, he sounds too Jewish, or he doesn't sound tough enough. He sounds cute. And somebody else would come in, you know, you gotta cute him up a little bit and everything. And I'm in my head, I'm thinking, shit it.
I can see some of the posters behind you as some of your most, as I've already said, quite iconic characters. But going back to Bugs Bunny, oh wow, does it really have a special place in your heart knowing you got to play that character we've all sort of grown up with?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Mel Blanc was one of my idols, and I actually got to meet him once, and you know, I mean, that was the thrill of a lifetime. These people were doing stuff, you know, and it was like a very nebulous dream. I mean, I used to hear them. I'd hear 20 voices in a cartoon, and when I was old enough to read the credits, I'd read the credits and I'd see 2 names, you know, and I said, these people, I know they're adults, but they're crazy, wacky kind of people, you know, that do this. I want to be one of them. I don't think I ever articulated that verbally, but I did have that feeling inside that, you know, kind of natural that I would wind up to do what I'm doing.
Oh, that's amazing. And just one final thing before I let you go. I've got a note of your Twitter account at the Billy West, but I noticed that you're on Cameo. So I was having a look at some of your videos on there and they're great fun. So I was wondering if maybe you'd like to tell our readers what they can expect if they book one of those from you, because they look awesome.
Well, if you go on Twitter, it's at the Billy West, THE, not THEE, like Megan Thee Stallion. I'm not that. You know, and I try to be helpful to people. I try to answer questions and stuff. And cameos, you know, if you book one for an anniversary or a birthday or whatever, I'm just like right there.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time, Billy. As I said,
Oh, it's my pleasure.
just a huge fan of your work. So many of your
Thank you.
characters, from Ren and Stimpy to Futurama to Space Jam, just everything. So it's been such an honor to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's a final word. Goodbye.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Billy. Stay safe and hope to speak to you again soon.
Okay.
Have a great day.